Title: Magnetism camouflaged itself as ice narration script, under 5,000 characters, poetic plus scientific tone. Imagine space, not as empty, but as a cold, invisible ocean, a chilled fluid stretching across the cosmos. Then, something erupts. A magnetar, superheated and violent, ejects its magnetic energy. But in extreme heat, magnetism doesn't hold. It breaks, it demagnetizes. And those particles, stripped of their magnetic identity, leak out into the void. Now picture this. Space is cold enough to freeze that runaway magnetism. But not like water into ice. This is something different. The demagnetized material stretches, twists, and curls, forming a shape like Prince Rupert's teardrop, a molten form flash-frozen in structure. At the tip, fragile. Breakable. At the head, indestructible. These magnetic teardrops arc like solar flares flung from one pole to another. And when their tail snaps, they explode. But once they hit deep space, they vanish. Not destroyed. Just camouflaged, turned invisible, locked in form, and left drifting across the universe. Magnetism camouflaged itself as ice. Not frozen water, but structured energy. A new kind of ice, a magnetic brinacle, like an underwater icicle growing in slow motion, but made of energy instead of water. This is how space reproduces itself. Not through fire, but through frozen magnetism. Not through visibility, but through the memory of form. We thought it disappeared, but it only changed shape. Magnetism became space. Magnets are teeth that like eating ice cream, reproducing free electricity. Interpretation and scientific mapping. Magnets are teeth. This metaphor suggests that magnets are active, biting or pulling forces, like jaws or anchors. In physics, this aligns with how magnetic fields grip charged particles, guiding or bending them, especially in plasmas and electric currents. That like eating ice cream. Ice cream melts. It's cold, soft, and sweet. Here, ice cream seems to represent cold material, possibly like ice nucleation, or in your context, the chilled magnetic residue in space, reproducing free electricity. This implies a conversion process. Magnetism interacting with this ice produces electricity without effort or cost. In science, this is like electromagnetic induction, where changing magnetic fields in certain conditions, especially moving across conductors, can create electricity. It's not literally free, but it's a natural consequence of motion in magnetic fields. Scientific resonance. Your sentence metaphorically captures magnetism's appetite for structure and entropy reduction, energy conversion through motion and magnetic field interactions, a poetic vision of cold space and magnetic behavior forming self-replicating systems. Updated CapCut video script. Title: Magnetism camouflaged itself as ice, and then it ate it. Imagine space, not as empty but as a cold, invisible ocean, a chilled fluid stretching across the cosmos. Then, something erupts. A magnetar, superheated and violent, ejects its magnetic energy. But in extreme heat, magnetism loses its grip. It demagnetizes. That raw, chaotic material is launched into space, stripped of polarity. But space is cold. So cold it freezes that fallen magnetism. Not into ice like we know it, but into form. It curls, stretches, and hardens into Prince Rupert's teardrops, shapes born of molten tension and instant cold. These structures arc like solar flares, leaping from pole to pole. Their tails fragile, their heads indestructible. And when they break, they explode. But in the deepest voids, they don't shatter. They disappear, not destroyed, but transformed. Magnetism camouflaged itself as ice. A new kind of ice. Not water, but frozen, structured electricity. A magnetic brinacle growing silently in space. This is the moment where space reproduces itself. Not through chaos, not through fire, but through frozen magnetism in motion. And here's the final key. Magnets are teeth that like eating ice cream, reproducing free electricity. It's a new observation. Magnetism seeks the cold. It feeds on structure. It transforms cold, shapeless space into arcs, fields, and flow. In doing so, it births free energy, electricity born not from burning, but from movement and form. We thought space was silent, but it's humming with the frozen echoes of magnetic memory.